fermentation. Fermentation is also one type of anaerobic respiration. Here glucose is converting into pyruvic acid in the glycolysis step. Here 2 NADH2s are produced. We can write NADH2 or NADH plus H plus also. Here after pyruvic acid, it is undergoing fermentation process. Here sometimes a pyruvic acid is converting into, in the fermentation step, pyruvic acid is converting into acetaldehyde. So pyruvic acid is CH3COOH. Formula is CH3COOH. Acetaldehyde CH3CHO. CH3CHO. Here carbon dioxide is removed. So CO2. The removal of CO2. After the removal of CO2, it is converting into acetaldehyde. From each pyruvic acid, one CO2 is removed. 2 pyruvic acids, 2 CO2s are removed. So after the removal of carbon dioxides, it is converting into acetaldehyde. So it is taking place, this reaction is catalyzed by pyruvic here decarboxylase. And acetaldehyde is undergoing one dehydrogenation reaction. Dehydrogenation means removal of hydrogens. Here the hydrogens are removed from NADH2. 2 NADH2s which are produced in the first step. It is glycolysis step. In the glycolysis step, already we discussed 2 NADH2s are produced. They are oxidized here. Oxidized means removal of hydrogens. Here hydrogens are removed from 2 NADH2s. 2 NAD plus. Here produced, here consumed. Here 2 NADH2s are produced and here oxidized. Same. NADs are converting into 2 NADH2s and these are utilized here. So no net gain of NADH2s produced and consumed. And after the removal of 2 hydrogens from NADH2, these protons or hydrogens are given to acetaldehyde. So it is converting into ethyl alcohol or ethanol. So it is alcoholic fermentation or anaerobic respiration reactions are also same. In the fermentation process, it is fermentation. After glycolysis, it is completed in 2 steps or 2 reactions. 2 enzymes are there. Here, first reaction is catalyzed by pyruvic decarboxylase, and the second reaction is by alcoholic dehydrogenase. Alcoholic dehydrogenase. Here decarboxylation, removal of carbon dioxides. Here removal of hydrogens. From this hydrogens are removed and given to acetaldehyde. So 2 enzymes are involving 2 steps: removal of carbon dioxide, removal of hydrogens, and these are added to acetaldehyde. At last ethyl alcohol is produced. Here 2 molecules of ethyl alcohol, 2 CO2s. So we can write a fermentation equation here like this: glucose is converting into 2 molecules of ethyl alcohol and 2 CO2s. In the absence of oxygen, no oxygen is consumed. ethyl alcohol and carbon dioxide are produced. Sometimes in lactic acid form, it is catalyzed completely, it is taking place in the yeast also, yeast, fungus. So some fungal members are involving in the glucose fermentation. So they are producing the alcohol and releasing outside. So that's why the yeasts are used in the fermentation process. In the beverages, generally these are used. Here in this only just 7% of energy in anaerobic respiration or in fermentation process, less than 7% of energy. Okay, less than 7% of energy is obtained. Here what is the net gain of ATPs here? In glycolysis, totally 4 ATPs are produced, 2 are consumed, only 2 net gain. 2 NADH2s are also produced. In glycolysis, completely 4 ATPs are produced, 2 are consumed, 2 NADH2s are also produced, but these 2 NADH2s are consumed here. So, produced and consumed. So, no net gain of NADH2. What is the net gain of ATPs? The ATPs are from only glycolysis only. In the fermentation steps, no ATP production. So, the ATPs are produced in only glycolysis. The ATPs 4 minus 2, only 2 ATPs. So, these ATPs are also produced in glycolysis. These are equal to here only just 7, the total glucose, some energy is there, 686 kilocalories energy. From this only 7% of energy is released or stored. So, 7% of energy is released and stored in the form of ATPs, only 2 ATPs. And the yeast is, for example, here yeast is in the culture plate. All these are yeast fungal members. So, they are consuming the glucose or raw material which is present surrounding, and that is converting into ethyl alcohol. So, here continuously the alcohol is produced by these fungal members are yeast. So, the alcohol is released outside. So, the concentration of alcohol gradually it is increasing. So, when the ethyl alcohol concentration is increasing up to 13%. So, 13%. So, in this concentration, in the 13% of alcohol concentration, all the yeast organisms, they will undergo death. So, they are producing the alcohol, but this alcohol when it reaches up to 13%, so that is not suitable for the growth of yeast members. So, in the 13% of alcohol, all the yeast members undergo death. So, that is why naturally fermented alcohols in the beverages or in the naturally fermented alcohols contain only just 13% alcohol. Naturally fermented alcohols contain 13 or below 13%. 13% or less than 13%. So, naturally fermented alcohols concentration or their alcoholic percentage is only just less than 13% alcohol. So, we will see in different alcohols, 60, 70, sometimes 100% alcohols are also there. How it is achieved? So, here more than 13% alcohols or high concentrated alcohols, they are prepared by distillation method. It is another industrial method. So, by distillation method, high concentrated 60, 70 or 100% alcohols are produced by distillation method. But naturally fermented alcohols contain only just 13% alcohol or less than 13%. So, it is fermentation. So, generally in the fermentation, alcoholic fermentation process, yeasts are involving. Next, lactic acid fermentation. Lactic acid fermentation, some bacteria are involving. In lactic acid fermentation, here the pyruvic acid It is the pyruvic acid. The pyruvic acid is generally in alcoholic fermentation it is converting into alcohol and carbon dioxide. But in lactic acid fermentation, the pyruvic acid is it is involving in the production of the pyruvic acid is directly it is involving in the lactic acid synthesis. Lactic acid. Here CH3, CHOH, COOH. Glucose is converting into pyruvic acid. It is common glycolysis. It is alcoholic fermentation. It is lactic acid fermentation. Lactic acid fermentation. So in this lactic acid fermentation, lactic acid bacterium is bacteria are involving, and it is here alcoholic fermentation. But up to pyruvic acid is common. It is involving in the alcoholic fermentation. Sometimes it is involving in the lactic acid fermentation. That is depending on the here bacteria. So if there is bacteria or fungal members, so in different organisms, different type of fermentations are taking place. Alcoholic or lactic acid fermentation. So it is about fermentation. Fermentation is also one kind of anaerobic respiration. Depending on the end product, it is called as alcoholic fermentation or lactic acid fermentation. So in the fermentation process, very less amount of energy or just less than 7% of energy it is released